They asking me about secret meetings and all that. I don't do the secret meetings because they talk about this secret knowledge only certain people, you know what I'm saying, should be privileged to obtain. So I don't do secret meetings, secret knowledge and all of that shit. I don't know what these guys, what them dudes trying to hide. That's what I'm saying. When you get up, there's gonna be new different conscious communities starting their own little thing. That's why I don't join communities. I visit communities and I keep it moving because I'm not a part of your agenda. I'm not gonna be. You know, they called me and it was supposed to be an honor. Yo, you know, you're God. We doing something here. We recognize you, this, that. And then you get there, it's about these rooms are secret. The shit you're gonna learn in here, you might know or not know, but it's gonna be more black magic on it, I guess, or I don't know, man. I have no need for all that secret information and all that shit. Right? When you get in there, some things. They got dinosaur knowledge, extended dinosaur knowledge, but not super extended dinosaur knowledge. So I was just telling him, you know, when I went into that first room and I came out, and he was telling me about all this going to be sworn and this, that. I said, man, I'm not with all that, man. I left out of there. I gave, you know, my reason, and you know, apologized to certain of the gods, but I told him I don't do this, man. I don't do all this secret. That'd be like the Knights of the Templar or something like that, hiding the knowledge and they distributing it when you want, taking over the knowledge and doing other things with it, then letting it get out slowly and all that. I don't follow none of that shit, man. I got my own mind, man. I follow my own thing. But the dinosaur knowledge, man, is just crazy. You got a dinosaur race. Some people choose to say serpent race. Some people might choose to look at these ancient stories and call them almond beings. Some people might choose to call them the Carians. Some people might choose to say the feline race. And they're all the same stories, man. Beings from light incarnating over planets. And it was incarnating into according to the life of the planet that they wanted to come into. So if that planet life had a lot of bird life, you know, what we would call hawks or birds, and they would transform themselves into, like, the head would be like a hawk or a bird or a falcon, and the body would be a regular body. And over time of incarnating like this, that's where you see on the Egyptian walls the gods, the Egyptian gods worshiping or showing or showing or deity in adoration to what you would call falcon men with heads on their head with the staffs and all that, but that's how they incarnated, and that's just the truth. It might be a lot for people to bear, so that's why I don't drop all those type of incarnations. As you incarnate, even them themselves coming in further and further into 3D, you lose what you call memory. You don't remember where you came from, so that's why your birth here, your trials and tribulation here, you don't remember your past life. You're an incarnation. You're incarnated here. That's what I say. That's what I mean when I say we manifest or we personify. And after those beings were incarnated, and they, you know, kept doing it and kept doing it, and I guess it's called metamorphosis or whatever. And till you got to be incarnated down to what you would call those Egyptians and gods and Osiris's, and that's why they remember those gods and remember who, you know, put them, let's just say, in office or something like that. So it's a lot to do with that. So as they incarnated different falcon heads and everything, then it came a time they came into the planet, you know, during the Atlantis times where there was, you know, building, you know, or that Pangea, that one landmass before it broke off into islands and things like that, when it was just one landmass, the city of Atlantis. And they had a lot of cloak on their body then. The snake, the dinosaur cloak was real heavy at that point. Yeah, that's when the dinosaur, the cloak was heavy, and they kept moving on. So this, as the story goes, is these beings, let's just make it short, converting themselves out of light into incarnating because they wanted to. And these are the most ancient stories there is on the planet to date, into different species that was on planets that they wanted to incarnate into. So they had to use the species that was there. And I guess that was a whole genetical thing also with just an incarnation. So a lot of this stuff I already knew. Then you talk about the science of Kether when they say like the Big Bang Theory thing started from a dot and then it exploded, and you know, you're gonna get a lot of stories. There was brightness first. The brightness had to be dimmed down, and then brought back up to a visible view for that you can, look at it. You could be able to look into the light, and then after that, the light exploded again, and then thus you get all kind of particles and different elements out of that light. And then these beings converted themselves, because light is intellect or intelligence. These beings converted themselves out of the light into just light, light beings. Because like I said, we have light in us now. The body is just covering it. You know what I'm saying? And the Drago, well, anyway, they got here. Some of them was called the Carrion. Some of them were called the feline race. These were cat races that had what you say humanoid bodies, but cat-like features, cat-like faces, and everything. It's where all the animal life come from, all from this. And these were master scientists, and they went on, and they genetically modified. I trust out of the dinosaur, a reptilian race, and because they're scientists, I guess that's where curiosity kills the cat come from. Because that reptilian race later on became to be the race that gave them hell. Out of that race comes a master race called the Alpha Draconians, being a master race to the reptilians, not to the original creators of these beings. So we are not creators. We converted from energy or from light into things and begin to master elements, creating, genetically splicing, manipulating from single cell amoebas. We brought dinosaurs along with us, as like I said, Tonka trucks, planet to planet. And dinosaur life, the genetics from the dinosaur is the ultimate race. The dinosaur race or the serpent race will be these ultimate races. You got Lyrians, you got Syrians, you got all different. This thing is a big thing of alien races. All of this super knowledge that people talk about they're giving you and all that. This is no more than a bunch of old ancient texts, scrolls, Dead Sea Scrolls, Atrahasis, the Numi Elish, Gilgamesh epics, Akkadian records, Secrets of Adolfo. All of these is telling the science of Kether, Metetran Square. All of this stuff is just talking about ancient alien races. That's the basis I can tell you. It's all about ancient alien races up there, genetically splicing and coming in, moving into 3D realms. You have some of them call them Anunnaki, some just call them alien races. Some alien races made it here and it was advanced, began building civilizations, which you would call Egyptian civilizations, and this is from the dinosauric side of the light, the solar side. Then you have other aliens that got here that they called the Anunnaki, that there were other reptilians already on this planet called Terra, that reptilians wouldn't be the extraterrestrials. They would be already native to the planet, like we are native to the planet, and anything created on the planet after will be the extra on the planet, making them extra on Terra. So sometimes I make that mistake and call us extraterrestrials. We're not extra, we're not the extra, we already been here. Then when you get Anunnaki races coming down, they was trying to deal with raw materials, and the reptilian race was already here doing their thing, and that's the negative side. They feed off of negativity. The Greys come out of the reptilian race. And the Greys are the reptilian slaves, and the Greys will take over and try to overcome their masters, just like they say Anunnaki brought Gigis here to slave for them, and then once that went bad, they were interested in not the raw materials no more, and that was a surprise to some of the alien races that they didn't want the raw materials, that they just wanted to speed up the humanoid ape. And the other reptilian races didn't want the Anunnaki, who we call the Isises and the Nudamuds and the Ankis and all that. They didn't want them here, and that began a big thing. So what happened was, that was the war they was talking about in heaven. The war in heavens in the Bible was really over things that was happening on the planet, and that's why they said he fell to earth, because they were just above earth in the atmosphere and the constellations, and that's where that war went on, because this other group came down, and reptilians were already here, evil reptilians, and this other group, which would be the Anunnaki, Anki, and them, building cities of light, Eridus, and all of that, and they looked upon the humanoids that was here, the ape, most advanced, and wanted to advance that ape, and the reptilians here didn't know why they wanted to do that, and it was for slavery. It was for slavery and mining of the copper. Copper is a raw material fought and sought after by a lot of different alien species that come to this planet. This planet was like what you would call a information center. You come here and trade posts and do all that like you see on Star Wars. Get broken aircraft parts and all that's real. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm going to pause this for a minute because I got to speak, but I'm trying to elaborate as much as I can. It's not as tough as you think. You're going to get all of these stories and they're going to confuse you. So you might be a little wrong, but I don't get into you can open up so much African history, man, and I can open up something and somebody say, yo, you open up this, you read about King this? I'm like, nah. You read about Queen this? And I'd be like, nah. You read about this? There's so much you can get lost with in Africa. You just got to basically know what's going on and let your enlightenment guide you, right? Hold on for a minute. So you might have people, that's going to come with all different kind of knowledges and talk about, you should read this, study this, study this. Time of studying and reading is all over with, man. Your wisdom should be done kicked in by now, and your enlightenment. You got time to be reading all kind of shit, man. I don't know everything, man. Some people, I was placed even not too long ago, the girl was asking me about different tribes in Africa. She was showing me some Zubidi tribe and what they used to do, and I hadn't heard nothing about it. So, I don't know. See, I studied from sky down, like I just was telling you. I studied from, imagine the Big Bang Theory, or study from how everything got created, what beings came out of that, what elements came out of that, and then I traveled down to how we got to different planets and Earth. So any information coming back towards me, I'm like, I don't need to know that. That's what y'all saying. I'm dealing with sky down from the facts. You know what I'm saying? So all of this information can get you lost. So I don't get into too much different African stuff. We got a lot of teachers still teaching about this in Africa, that in Africa. I'm definitely with, you have to figure out, you got to go read about cities of Atlantis. The cities that's now underground, that's now because of this white man playing in the ocean sea floors with machines and heart machines, stirring up energies down there to make tsunamis and everything. They are breaking up land masses on sea level. And that sea level will start to move upwards, like I've been telling y'all, and that cities like Atlantis and all that is going to come back. They're going to come back, and you have to understand that like I told you, certain land masses around Antarctica and all that, when we have Richter scale earthquakes, those land masses shake after so many millions of years and break and pop off and float out into space. And as we move upwards, we'll meet back some of those land masses to place it back in like a puzzle. Yet there's a lot of cities, underground cities and caverns and everything in the center and the core of the earth. No, there's not a central sun in the center of the earth. It can't be. The sun will be too powerful, but they do get light by way of gravitational things and ultraviolet light, and it's a different way that they get light down there in those caverns. So you got to remember that, and your Bible will tell you there will be a new heaven and a new earth. And this is what I'm talking about. Land masses, new cities will begin to appear on your planet. And we won't be here for it. You know what I'm saying? Your ether will be here for it. And whoever takes you or you incarnate back into, that's why you meet people that's been here before. You see this little child shit, they've been here before, because that life before that was worthy to come back and finish what they were doing. Like, get out of black and white. When you study this, don't worry about humans or white people or that. No, we're all a part of the same attack. We're all being attacked. The humans are being attacked. The solar children are being attacked. And you got to give it to the human beings. They just stuck in evolution. See, you wasn't supposed to be stuck a pale man, white or whatever. You're supposed to keep evolving and going to something higher. But what happens is this project, the evolutionary project of human, him being the last one, he was supposed to keep going and evoluting into something else. But the humans are stuck in evolution. And we might be stuck with them, you know what I'm saying? So, again, once they start doing this and playing with the bottom of seas and everything, and that's another thing, you're supposed to measure from going from the planet to the moon by sea level, not from the surface level. That'll give you a different coordinates. You're supposed to really measure it, what's the distance from the moon or the sun from the earth, from the sea level, and that will be the proper distance and everything. But like I said, there will be a new heavens, a new earth. That's what the Bible was talking about. New land masses will be popping up as this white man stirs up things in the bottom of the seas. Where do you think mountains come from? All of this. It's like when you see Panther, you see the men that lived in those mountains. All those mountains go way down to sea level. You know what I mean? So it's rich with minerals and everything. Just like Hawaii right now, what people don't understand, that is a spilling, volcanoes erupting because the planet is still hot. We always knew that. And the inner planet is still hot. If it wasn't, then there wouldn't be these volcanoes, you know what I'm saying, vomiting up. And what they're doing is they're vomiting forth new elements. And that's what it's going to be, new elements that scientists are going to discover, because out of these volcanoes you get all kinds. Volcanoes are pyroclastic flow, just eating up everything this way, but in there there's elements. That pyroclastic flow will turn into marble, or what we call glass, when it hardens, and new elements will be found to tend to the earth with. And just like I said, the sun is germinating new elements, so when those cities come up, all the ancient elements they was hiding in it will be within the cores of those cities coming up. So it will be a new heaven and a new earth, and you have to understand what that meant when they was talking about that. All right, so just a lot of stuff, man. I don't do the secret knowledge thing. That's what this started off with, me going someplace and they trying to give me a secret knowledge, man. I'll drop all of this for free, man. This is nothing, no more than what they, wanted to talk to y'all about, man. But dinosaurs are very important to a lot of reptilian species. You have two different type of reptilian species. You have one reptilian species that was hybrided out of dinosaurs. You have a their masters reptilian species that were genetically spliced out of beings that came here, like carrions and things like that. All right. So let me answer this for a minute. Yeah, so just know, man, I deal with different type of teleports, different type of information. I'm not afraid to test what information comes into my neurons through the sun. The last thing I got to let y'all know, this is not in books, this is not a new teleport, was that all therapists and psychologists have and are being replaced with real live practicing warlocks and witches. You understand what I'm saying? So when you go to the therapy, you and your husband talk about, I go to therapy and laying down on couches and all that, that's witchcraft. They're just switching it up. The new witches, the new warlocks are into the psychiatric business and are into therapy. That's why it's big. Therapy is big, costs a lot of money. You go there, you be hypnotized in a whole different way, bamboozled, and you don't really know what's going on. So, settle your own problems. You're not people with community sense. Adam and Eve, the Adamo, those two beasts were put into a garden, and they knew not their nakedness. That was the first prison. They were communed into a cage. If you look in the ancient text, it's going to literally say they was put in cages. And that's just the truth. They just made it a garden in the Bible. And you go back to the real text, Adam and Eve, the Adamo and this Eve, was put in cages to watch. And that was the big thing. Once they got to a part where they wanted to have them procreate, the reptilians that was on this planet didn't want that to happen, and they attacked the Anunnaki beings. And y'all hear about a lot of those wars in heaven where the good side won. And that was just one side. And when the reptilians or the dragons fought back and shot back, they killed a lot of the Anunnaki, and they killed a lot of the solar beings that were here and things like that. And a lot of them had to hide and go different places. Just like when the meteorites or the fusion bombs came down, clearing out the dinosaurs wasn't all killed. That's just a big lie that they tell you, that was the end of the dinosaurs. No, a lot of different species of dinosaurs remained, and they survived, came back out, and that began your ancestry. That began our dinosauric ancestry that actually leads off the planet. And then you got an on-planet project of animals that's here, leopards, things like that, rats, cats and things that we use in a human project so that the humans could be sped up. And that all started from an ape, from a monkey. So it's just a lot of stories, a lot of ancient stories. You're going to hear a lot about. And technically now we're starting to trust that the Anunnaki that we read that come here, your Isises and your Ankis and all that, they taught us that they were gods, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. And the gods that we're praying to in the Bible is actually not good. So you're going to hear a lot about that. You're going to hear a lot about the serpent knowledge being hidden. Serpent knowledge is a good thing. Do not be afraid of the serpent knowledge. When they tell you that the serpent came over and talked to this project and all of that, that's another thing. You've got to follow the serpent knowledge. Follow lightning bolt, Shazam, all of that. That's zigzag zig. That just represents frequency. That's what we deal with. Your brain can receive things. If you meditate or well enough, your brains will receive things. So just remember, one of the last teleports I got was to be mindful to share with people that don't go to therapists, which is theater, or psychologists. All of that's practicing witchcraft and black magic, which they actually, a lot of Egyptian gods and goddesses practiced black magic, to be honest with you. They were witches. Isis practiced black magic, to be true. She was a master surgeon and everything, but she also practiced black magic, which a lot of them did, and that's where they fell from grace. A lot of our own gods began running with these reptilians, and the reptilians are who you see to say today as the Illuminati. They're the Illuminati, the big Bush families, all these 12 families, Wahlbergs, Bilderbergs, all these families leading back to Pennsylvania, Dracula, Dracos, the dragon that he fought against, and they took over the world, and they hid a lot of things, a lot of bombs. Cities of ours that we built, we came here, was forced underground into the water, underground cities. If you look at Star Wars, one of them with Jar Jar Binks, when they found him, he took them back to a group of people that was living underground in cities, just like you was when you was in your mother's womb. You had gills, but you went through that metamorphosis to looking like an alien, and then with gills and breathing in the water and everything like that, and you just kept evolving. But these beings could, maintain their gills, could breathe underwater. So it's a lot that I don't drop that will lose people when you tell people about beings incarnating into bodies with falcon heads and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, that's what they did. When they first wanted to be visible, they had to use something. And I do want to get the teleport of the species that was already here, because every time you studying this, it's like they're converting themselves and they use animal that was here. And the question would be, well, how did that already get here? How did species already was here for them to even use a falcon head to incarnate into? So incarnations is what we got to get into, man. You are an incarnation onto this planet. So don't believe everything. It's very deep knowledge. You got to go all the way to the Mason knowledge and all that kind of stuff. It's very hectic, man. So you have to be careful with what you're learning and what you know, because it's confusing. People don't have it all. Don't let people tell you you're supposed to read this stuff and not be confused. I'm at this state confused. Sometimes you read it and you go, well, damn, what's the good side? Who the fuck do I look to as the good side? And it's just like the ancient Egyptians on them walls. They always looked up to beings that had bird faces and all that. And these were the master races. These were the creating races who created dinosaurs and all of that. They're just being used different names. Some people call them almond beings. Some people say Anunnaki. Some people just say alien races. You're reading ancient texts and you got to put it in your mind the way you want to put it in your mind on how these beings aren't incarnated and started moving in space, so that space could be, it could constantly be space. As they move forward, they create what you call space, and then they drop life in space, meaning the elements, time, creation, all that kind of stuff is in space. But space is not what you think it is. It expands as these powerful light beings move forward. So actually, as they're moving forward, they're creating what you call space. You understand? You have to have space, and then you have to occupy space by something, meaning your body. All these incarnations, when you say trees, when you say life, when you say elements, you say it was a big bang. Well, all of this happened within space. Who created space? There was no space. There was darkness until these light beings came out and began moving forward and opening things up around them and creating space. It's like an elevator. It's a space. You get in it, you occupy that space to do something. Everything needed space. Water, elements, playing with the elements, dropping life. Where we dropping life? Into water. Where we're putting the water? Into space. Onto Fraggle Rock. Onto rocks that we put elements inside them in the middle and was able to pull them back together, because all planets have magnetism in it. All elements are carbon based because they all come out of the sun and things like that. So just a lot of these things that we have to go through and know that, space itself, time and space itself was something created. These beings actually work outside of time and space. There was some of the brightness that stayed to continue to give law and order. Some beings did not come out. So those are the ultimate council that's there giving guidance to everything in space or within the universe. In the universe, these beings travel in what you would call bubbles. And they know how to move through bubbles, incarnate into bubbles and come into lower dimensions, but they need to take on bodies or forms as they do it. This is all I'm sharing with you. Way back millions of years, there was no human project, so it was taking on forms of what we would call animals and things like that, and that's just the truth. Yet they didn't procreate their beings using these animals. No genetic material was used like animal. It was dinosauric genetic material that was used, and that's your skin that you see today, and they tell you that it's eczema and all of that. But That's just a long lineage of it, and you just have to learn all this stuff and put it together. So you don't actually need, you read all these ancient texts, you use your mind. It's logic time. I don't read for this. You know, I just get these thoughts and I put it together in my head. I go over it very well, and just to make sure it makes logical sense. And you do not have to always believe. Do not get into this to believe. Get into this to know certain things, to know that you study different accounts, and you logically place them in your head, and you speak truth, and you speak facts, and you speak logic, because you're speaking from ancient wisdom, ancient texts, all right? So these beings actually create space as they move on. As their power moves, and they have to continue to move forward. You're going to hear a lot of things about their planet was destroyed, they had to leave, and they had to keep moving. And as these beings move, they're creating things, and they have to house things in certain places. So planets and fraggle rock that was broken, things that was floating all around space, they began to be the first designers of space. You know, like the living room, moving stuff around, cataloging elements, putting certain elements with inside of certain cores and another side of the core, then pulling that core back together and beaming it onto a belt. This is technology that they have because they have higher elements or more powerful things to work with than us, making them gods or whatever. But as they got down into building civilizations, and they had children and had children incarnate through them, these children's names was like Ma'at and Nut and God, and you had one was called Gadis, and they were high up, so you begin to look at him as God, the introduction of that word. And the Germans took the word from good, or G-U-D, and tried to translate that and made it good, and then made it God. But by the time we got in 3D, seen the word God, you thought it was one and all of that, but you just attributed to families coming out of this dinosaur race and stuff like that. So pay attention to the serpent, pay attention to Superman, the S on his chest, the lizard skin, and all of that. And as I tell y'all this, the ones who really in tune with me, you'll begin to find this knowledge on your own. Because as I drop it, that's what it do. I put it into you, pause, and then you find the knowledge. You start scrolling through TV. Shit, that's everything Apex is talking about. Why am I running into this? Why am I running into that? Because I'm passing it on to you, all right? Apex Solar One, man.